Eddie Brock isn't the same guy he once was. Why don't we introduce you to our better half? We call ourselves Venom. Wear your old clothes, kid. Your hand-me-downs. The symbiote that Peter Parker tried to destroy, Eddie Brock has embraced. We've bonded.
Hey guys, it's Lord here, back again with another review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Hasbro Pulsecon 2021 Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Series. Jeez, that was a mouthful. Venom. That's right, I got the Pulsecon exclusive Venom as he appears in the 1990s Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series, and oh boy, does this tick a lot of nostalgia boxes for yours truly, because even though I didn't exactly grow up in the time that this show was airing, like new episodes and whatnot, kind of like Gargoyles, but I digress, I did catch a lot of reruns of this show later in life, as a young child, or even a more grown-ass child, a man-child even. I've seen all of this story arc with Venom, all the story arc with the Man-Spider, the Secret Wars, the Insidious Six. That's right, not the Sinister Six. Insidious, whatever it is. It's the Sinister Six, but it's not. I've seen a lot of this show, needless to say. And Venom was always a cool character, voiced by Moe of The Simpsons, of all things. Interesting. But before we get into the meat and taters of this review, getting him out of here, let's take a look-see at the box. Comes in this big old honkin' shipper box with Venom's face plastered on the front of it there. You can see his weird reptilian eyes staring you in the face. And this is actually kind of embossed. It's all glossy where it's printed on, so that's nice. On the back, nothing. But if you open it up here, and I will say this is pretty thick cardboard on this box. Pull out the retro card here, which I still have the bubble on it for whatever reason, even though it's cut on three sides. You got a picture of Venom there on the side there, which is kind of cool. Kind of wish they put I want to eat your brains, kind of a nod to the old Toy Biz days, that talking Venom. Then on the back, you can see some more stuff there. And let me just say, this is the first time I've actually shown this packaging on camera. I love this Spider-Man packaging. I love the logo on the top. Super duper 90s. I love it. Absolutely no problems with the packaging, other than you have to destroy it to get to the figure. That kind of blows. But whatever. I'm going to be doing it 6 more times at some point in the future, because they announced a really solid offering for a Spider-Man retro card wave a couple of months ago. That's got the Symbiote Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, Shocker, Hammerhead, the Iron Spider, and Hobgoblin, which I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Looks cool, but getting into this Venom here. As far as his accessories go, actually, let's pan the camera down. Got too much airspace there. Put him back there for the moment. He comes with an alternate head, which is the same as the head that's on him. It just doesn't have the tongue. Which, if you don't display Venom with a tongue, you're weird. He's got a funny kind of butt crack in the top of his head, too. I always thought that was interesting, because the animated Venom, he always had kind of an indent on the top of his head for whatever reason. Kind of looks like a brain, but now that I said it, I can't get it out of my head. It totally looks like a butt crack. And he does come with 2 fisted hands, so you can punch the crap out of anybody who wants to screw with him, whether it's Spider-Man, Carnage, or hell, even Iron Man or Doctor Strange. Now, I will tell you firsthand that this figure is awesome solely due to the fact that they made it. Now, take that away, did they do it justice? In most cases, yes. In a couple cases, I think they could have done a little better. But for what we got, maybe not exactly at the price point, I do have issues with that. This was a $30 figure. And really, the only reason that is the shipper box, because I think the card's about the same size as any other Spider-Man Retro Series figure. I don't think it's any bigger or smaller. It definitely wouldn't be smaller, right? But, yeah. First and foremost, this guy is on the Omega Red body, which, thank God, we finally got a Venom that's not on that piece of crap Hyperion body. Or that isn't, a big hulking monster, even though I do like those. But this guy is on Hyperion, or not Hyperion, Omega Red. Gee whiz, I just said he wasn't. What the heck? And because of that, he looks a little bit better proportionally. However, I don't know if this is going to be on all of them. There is some mold flashing. Gee whiz. Quite a bit of it, too. But his knees are super gummy. Super gummy. I'm not really into that. I don't recall them being this gummy on... oh, what's his name? Warpath. And especially not Omega Red. I don't know why the knees are gummy. That sucks. That's a bummer. He does have new lower arms, new hands, and of course the new heads. Maybe not new hands. They might be reused from... they're probably reused from Warpath. But the one thing that does carry over from the Omega Red body that people aren't fond of are the ports on the shoulders. Now, I'm not going to condone this. I think that sucks. And it's kind of lazy that they didn't fill them, especially for the price that they're asking for this thing. I think they should have filled those. But they're not that big. Not that big a deal either. So you could always fill that with something and go over it. Relatively inexpensive. So that's not that big a deal. What is kind of a big deal is he does not have the white squares on the backs of his hands. And I do have the crap Venom here. You could, I guess, if you wanted to, use these hands. They are a bit small, but I imagine they would fit in the pore. Let me see if I can... That's not coming out. So, we're not going to break the toy. It sucks. I don't actually have an extra pair of those lying around, but I can only assume those might fit in here. I know the head will. The head portraits, those will fit on this body. But I imagine the hands would fit. And, you pop these out. It's super easy. I don't know why that Venom, they're so hard to take out. Probably because that's actually not the Absorbing Man wave Venom. Now that I think about it, that's the Monster wave, or the Monster Venom wave reissue of that figure, which was a little bit harder to pop the hands in and out of. But of the two Venoms I had, that one had the tightest joint, so I stuck all the Eddie Brock parts on that and made the other one into pork rind, so whatever. But, this figure is super cool. Otherwise, I know I kind of nitpicked the crap out of it, but don't get me wrong, this is a freaking sweet figure. I love the different kinds of cell shading on both sides. It's got red on one side, blue on the other. It looks really cool. Adds for a nice effect. Probably going to be a bitch to photograph, not going to lie, but whatever. I don't do a ton of that ACBA stuff these days anyways, but I could see that being a problem for some people. But I'm sure we're going to get this guy at some point on a Omega Red body again. and it'll be a more Todd McFarlane style or just a classic style Venom. I guess that would be classic, huh? I will say one thing they did right, though. The spider symbol is super clean. It only took them what? Monster Venom, Hyperion 1 and 2. Took them 3 tries. Usually it's third time's the charm, but in this case it was 4. But this spider symbol, at least on mine, is pretty good. It's not too bad. I can deal with that. Even though it's a little skinny on the back. It is really skinny on the back. I wish they could... I would have just sacrificed the aesthetic just to use the butterfly joint, because it is the back. I would have just said, you know what, let's just paint it right and have it go into that butterfly joint. That's not that big a deal to me. I know some people probably would have been bugged by that, but there really ain't a way around it, folks. That's nature of the beast. But as far as articulation on this guy goes, his head will look up, will look down, it will look side to side. Not much tilt going on. You can easily pop this off. Yeah, easily pop it off. Not too hard. Although it is kind of hard to put back on. You just gotta line it up. There you go. But he's got the tongue sticking out. He's got a lizard-looking tongue too. That's kind of interesting. Of course, he's got the reptilian eyes too. Maybe that's why he's supposed to be more like a snake or something. Then his shoulders go out to the side. Pretty far. Not too shabby. They swing forward and back because of the butterfly joint, which is nice and solid on this body. They rotate all the way around. He's got a bicep swivel, double joint at the elbow, which actually isn't gummy at all, the elbows. I mean, maybe a tiny bit, but not too bad. He's got a hinge in the wrist with a swivel. Not too bad there. Ab crunch, clicks forward once. And back, kind of once. He's got a waist swivel. Works pretty well. Hips are nice and tight on this guy. They kick forward and back. Out, then back down. He's got a thigh cut. Double jointed knee works good. And it's kind of less gummy the more you bend it, but it's still kind of gummy. I would say that's my bigger gripe with this figure is his gummy arse knees. I don't know if I have any extra kneecaps I could swap out that aren't as gummy, but yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Other than that, this thing is pretty flawless as far as a base body, aside from the little ports on the shoulders, which I can let that slide, so they're not that big. And then he's got a hinge in the foot with a rocker and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So there you go. I don't know if his feet are new. I think they're reused. And he's actually got like some wrinkles on his butt here and in other places of this body because it was originally a fabric suit. So maybe he shouldn't have wrinkles on his butt. That's really the only place I'm noticing those too. I don't see them anywhere else. So that's interesting. But that doesn't really bother me that it's on the back. So, you know, pick your poison, I guess. But this is probably the best kind of regular-sized Venom we've gotten from Hasbro, while still being somewhat half-assed. I don't know why they can't just put out, like, a Venom figure. Like, even if they charge, like, $40 for it, if they just went to town and gave it, like, all the different heads, the madness parts, all kinds of other stuff, I'm pretty sure it would sell pretty well. It's Venom. Venom sells, regardless of how good or bad it is, especially if you look at this hunk of crap right here. But, with that being said, let's take a look at some comparisons. First up, here's our new Spider-Man Retro Card Series Venom, based off how he appeared in the animated series, next to the other Marvel Legends Venom offerings we've gotten from Hasbro over the past 5 years or so. If I'm not mistaken, 2016 is when we got Venom in the Absorbing Man wave, but don't hold me to that. And while this is not that figure, it is the reissue from the Monster Venom Build-A-Figure wave. This base body is absolute garbage. I do not know why they used it so many times. It definitely ruined more than just Venom for me. To name off a few, let's see here, Crossbones, Bishop, Cable, they all use this base body, and to this day, I don't really understand why. Sabretooth, that's another one. So we're just going to get him out of here, because he's not even worth having next to these other figures, because they're miles better. But next up we have the movie Venom, which of course is going to have a lot more tooling than any of the comic ones, because it's a movie figure, and to this day I will never understand why Hasbro throws so much budget at movie figures. Eternals is a testament to that, because those are hot sellers, aren't they? But I digress. At any rate, though, the movie Venom is awesome, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea because it's the movie design. I get that, but it was my number 2 favorite Marvel Legends of the year last year. My number 7 favorite action figure of the year overall last year, so it did something right, didn't it? And then last but certainly not least, we have the Monster Venom. This is the fan channel exclusive version, not the Build-A-Figure. Although it is the same base body, it's just painted up like Eddie Brock, so it made more sense to get him out instead. And speaking of that old Hyperion Venom, the spider symbols were also never painted that well on that thing. Not quite sure why that is. Kind of the same case with this one, although it's only janky on the back, so I guess I can let that slide, especially since if I got a different base plate with a better painted spider on it, would kind of fix that problem. But I'm not too worried about that at all. I still love this figure. I think it'd be awesome if we got a Madness variant of this figure. Even though I know this base body isn't everyone's cup of tea either, because not everyone thinks Venom as a giant hulking monster with clawed toes. I know people don't dig the toes, but I don't mind the toes. I think it's a cool figure regardless. It's the Venom we needed, but now that we have the Omega Red Body Venom here, I think we can look forward to a tried and true classic comic version at some point in the near to distant future, right? Up next, here he is next to a couple other characters who made an appearance during the Venom story arc in the Spider-Man animated series. We have the infamous Carnage, who is actually a pretty solid fit for this Venom figure, albeit maybe without the tendrils. I don't know, you'd have to do some customization there. And I think the Carnage in the animated series had a little bit more of a rounder head. This one's more oval shaped. And then we also have the Dread Dormammu, who is... gosh darn it, too darn small, man. I like this figure a lot, but I wish he was maybe instead of down here, up here. Because Dormammu, he should be a pretty big guy, but whatever, I guess. It's not that big a deal. Especially if you have 3-inch figures, I think he's a much better scale for that. But if we take Carnage out here... Is it high time we got Carnage on a new body? Oh yeah, we did get that one, didn't we? The, oh, what is it? The Venom Pool Wave Carnage, but I didn't care for the feet on that. That's because they broke off. If we put in Ultron here... This is probably my top 3 Marvel Legends of the year. Not gonna lie. I don't think this is bad at all. I don't really know who's first and who's second. It's down to these two. This guy's third just because of his size, but... yeah, I'd say I'm pretty content and happy with saying that. Next up, here's a couple more characters who showed up in the Venom story arc from the Spider-Man animated series. We have the Modular Armor Iron Man, who may potentially be my 4th favorite Marvel Legends of the year. Kind of a spoiler alert for that video, I know, but I may be posting that a little bit early this time around instead of, I don't know, mid-January next year like I did for my top 10 list for 2020. Who knows? Don't hold me to it. But since we didn't get him out for the Modular Iron Man video because I'm a total dingus and completely forgot about this figure, here's also the Deluxe War Machine, who gets jacked up by either Venom or Carnage. I can't remember which. And then Iron Man steps in to help Spider-Man instead. And no, I will not be comparing this guy to the Retro Spider-Man because I do not have that figure, and I'm not going to pay somebody's mortgage to get it. And last but certainly not least, we have our 2 regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, and another Todd McFarlane creation, the Inkai 11 Spawn. So with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and while I do really love this figure, and I'm very happy to finally have a figure of this particular version of Venom as he appeared in the 1990s Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series, I do have to deduct a few points for a few nitpicky things. Mostly the fact that he does not have the white squares on the backs of his hands. That's inaccurate to the show, and since that is what the Marvel Legends team was going for here, gotta deduct a point for that at the very least. I could probably let the ports on the shoulders and the gummy knees slide, as long as they had provided us with those white squares on the backs of the hands like he had in the show. Other than that, you got some white paint, you can fix that. You can fill those ports up. I don't know how to fix the gummy knees. That's kind of always been a problem with Legends. Hopefully we'll get a pinless tech version of this figure, maybe at some point later down the line, but don't hold me to that. I don't know what's going on over there. But wishful thinking, right? But at any rate, don't let those few minor things sway your opinion of this figure. This is one of the best Marvel Legends of the past year. And while that's not saying much, because we've had a lot of stinkers this past year, I think this is a diamond in the rough. I really love this figure. I'm having a ton of fun posing him around. You gotta kind of half his head on the ball joint to get him to look up like I have him here. But it's easily done and it doesn't fall off. So that's a plus, right? So with that being said, I would highly recommend you pick this up if you're at all a fan of the 90s animated series like yours truly, or just a fan of Venom in general, also like yours truly. But at any rate, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and if you are so inclined, please hit that notification bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one, because we gotta show that algorithm who's boss right. And if you haven't already, hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is. And until next time, I will catch you guys later.